Hey there, Breakdown family. What if I told you that one university could change the future of an entire continent? A place not just for degrees, no, but for sovereignty, for continent building. A place that teaches Africa not just how to mine, but how to transform, how to refine, how to manufacture, and own its wealth from the ground up. Today's episode was inspired by a comment from one of you. Yes, I tell you, I read them all. I have been so moved and inspired by your ideas. So keep them coming. But Nelson Parker wrote a comment on one of my videos and I really liked it. He said, I really appreciate the content you're putting out. Your voice has real influence. I'd love to see you create a video encouraging Burkina Faso's president to invest in building a comprehensive mining university, a national institution that covers everything from mineral extraction to metallurgy, equipment production, and the creation of finished products could transform the country's economy and create skilled jobs across the board. Your platform could help spark that conversation and push this vision forward. Wow. Thank you, Nelson. What a great idea. And you know what? You are absolutely right. Because this is exactly the kind of bold, visionary thinking that Africa needs right now. Because here's the truth. Africa is rich in minerals. We know that. Gold, lithium, cobalt, copper, bauxite, rare earths, you name it. We have it all. In fact, they say Africa is the only continent that can survive without the rest of the world. Because we have everything we need to survive. But we don't control the knowledge. We don't control the tools, the infrastructure to extract and transform it ourselves. We don't control the value chain. So what ends up happening? The wealth leaves us, and then we're left behind. So that's why today we're making the case. Africa needs a Pan-African mining university ASAP. And President Ibrahim Traoré should be the one to build it. Yes. Why him? Because after surviving a coup attempt in April and standing firm in the face of foreign pressure, President Traoré has become more than a national leader. He's become a symbol for sovereignty, for youth power, for a new kind of African future. And while he's taken bold steps to reclaim Burkina Faso's gold and reject foreign domination, the deeper issue still remains. Africa can't just nationalize its mines. It needs to nationalize its capacity. So in this episode, we're breaking down the vision of a university that could train a generation of engineers, geologists, equipment makers, and resource leaders right here on African soil. Because at some point, we have to stop pointing only to the legacy of colonialism and start taking bold, actionable steps to shape the future that we deserve. We have what it takes. If China could rise from poverty to global power in just one generation, so can Africa, my people. But it won't happen by accident. No, it's going to take vision. It's going to take courage. It's going to take bold moves. And this university would be a game changer, not just for Burkina Faso, but for the entire continent. It would be a concrete step in the right direction toward real sovereignty, skills, ownership, and yes, self-reliance. Now, before we dive in, a big welcome to all our new subscribers and members. We're so thrilled you're here. And for our members, I have a special bonus segment for you about the Pan-African Mining University we're talking about today. Something to help you visualize the path forward, not just what should happen, but how you could plug into that bigger vision as well. For our core VIP members, yes, I also have a visual slide summary for the Pan-African Mining University blueprint just for you. And if you're watching and haven't joined us yet, what are you waiting for? Consider this your invitation. We would love for you to be a part of our growing family here at Pan Genius TV, where we bring you global Black stories that are told with truth, with care, and with intention, and where we mobilize from talk to real action and power. We're literally shaping the future, y'all. And speaking of power, I've got some exciting news to share. I am thrilled to announce that I'll be at the 2025 NABA convention in Las Vegas, happening June 2nd to 6th. Woo! Now, if you don't know about NABA, it is the largest gathering of Black professionals in the United States. Actually, let's keep it real. In the world, yes. We're talking about CEOs, executives of Fortune 500 companies, accountants, scientists, engineers, technologists. The exact kind of brilliant minds we need to build the Pan-African Mining University we're talking about today. Nearly 5,000 of them will be coming together for a week of learning, networking, empowerment, and a celebration of Black excellence and brilliance.
Welcome to Vegas. That's what I like to hear.
Flow is about embracing our source, and our source is power.
Yes, I'll be bringing you exclusive coverage straight from the conference. But more than that, I'd love to connect with you there. Now, if you would like to be a part of the action, visit nabainc.org to register. I'm so excited to be bringing you coverage. It's going to be amazing. All right, now let's break it down.
No continent is richer in natural resources than Africa, with an abundance of agriculture, oil and gas, and not least minerals critical to the energy transition and AI. Take cobalt, indispensable for EV batteries. The Democratic Republic of Congo produces almost 3/4 of the world's supply, with Madagascar and South Africa also producing the metal. Then copper, from electrical wiring to pipes. Again, think DRC, but also Zambia, which targets 3 million tons of annual production by 2031. That's more than triple current levels. For iron ore, it's Mauritania and Liberia. And of course, gold, the industry cornerstone. Here, Ghana, South Africa, and Burkina Faso are key. With demand for minerals expected to surge in the years ahead, a list that barely scratches the surface still offers a window into Africa's vast resource wealth.
So let's start with a simple but uncomfortable truth. Africa is one of the richest continents in the world, and yet its people are some of the poorest. Now, Africa isn't just rich, right? When we talk about rich, it's not just rich, it's ridiculously rich in natural resources. But here's the problem. We've got the minerals and someone else is getting the money. Let me break this down. Let's start with gold. Right now, Ghana, Mali, and Burkina Faso, just those 3 West African countries, produce about 7% of the world's gold supply. And now across the whole continent, Africa holds around half of the world's known gold reserves. That's 50% of global gold sitting right beneath our feet. Then there's cobalt, the mineral that powers electric car batteries, smartphones, and the entire clean energy transition. Over 70% of the world's cobalt comes from one place in Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo. But who's refining it? Who's exporting the finished products? Not us. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is sitting on one of the largest lithium reserves in the world, over 480,000 metric tons. That's enough to make the country a major player in the global battery race if we knew how to turn lithium into power cells instead of raw export. Guinea has so much bauxite, which is used to make aluminum, it holds nearly a quarter of the world's reserves. But guess what? Most of it leaves the country unprocessed, creating jobs in China instead of Conakry. And then there's the rare earths, the elements that power our phones, wind turbines, satellites, defense systems. Angola and South Africa have some of the biggest deposits on the continent. Now, experts say Africa could hold up to 30% of the world's rare earth reserves. That's strategic power. And yet, we're still on the sidelines. So what's the common thread? We dig it up, we ship it, and we buy it back, processed, branded, and 100 times more expensive. Africa exports raw gold, then imports gold jewelry from Europe. We export lithium, then import batteries from China. We mine copper and cobalt, then import smartphones, EVs, and power cables. This is the paradox. We have the resources, but not the capacity. We own the soil, but not the systems. And while our minerals power the global economy, our people remain disconnected from the wealth that they create. Meanwhile, mines are run by foreign contractors. Equipment is imported. Royalties are negotiated in Washington, Paris, or Moscow, not in Accra or Nairobi or Lagos. And skilled jobs, they're flown in from abroad. This is what happens when you have extraction without transformation, ownership without know-how, national pride, but no national capacity. This is hurting Africa. And until we close that gap, the story won't change. That's why we need to start thinking differently and building differently. Not just about what we mine, right? But how we manage it, how we process it, and build with it. And that's exactly where a Pan-African mining university comes in. Now let's talk about leadership. Because if there is one African leader who has captured the imagination of millions right now, especially the youth, it's President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. No, he's not just trending on social media. He's being hailed by some as a revolutionary, a Pan-Africanist, a symbol of defiance in a region fed up with business as usual. They're calling him the President of Africa. Now, Traoré has done what many leaders haven't dared. He nationalized gold assets, asserting control over one of the country's most valuable resources. He expelled foreign troops, challenging decades of military dependency. And he helped form the Alliance of Sahel States, a bold new bloc aimed at breaking free from ECOWAS and external manipulation. These are big moves, yes, and they've made headlines for all the right reasons. But here's the thing. Control of the land is just the beginning. Because the deeper issue is capacity. It is knowledge. It's systems. Just recently, Burkina Faso signed a new mining deal with Russia. And while it may seem like a pivot away from the West, it's still a sign that we lack the homegrown infrastructure to fully manage, refine, and benefit from our own natural wealth. Let's be real. It's the same cycle with a different partner. The Russian mining company retained 85% of the deal, while Burkina Faso's government retained only 15%. That's a problem. We keep fighting to reclaim our resources, but we still don't have the institutions to extract, process, or innovate with themselves. So we end up making these deals that really don't benefit our people. And that's the gap we have to close. That's where Traoré's next move matters more than ever. Because what if, instead of just reclaiming the mines and striking deals with Russia or whoever else, he builds the foundation to train the people who would run them? What if he went beyond resistance and into reinvention? Imagine it. A Pan-African mining university established in Burkina Faso, led by Burkinabe vision, but serving the entire continent. This could be the single boldest step yet in transforming Africa's extractive economy into an industrial revolution. And you know, I've talked a lot about that here on The Breakdown. And President Traoré, he has the momentum, the platform, and the political courage to make it happen. So the question is, will he seize this moment not just to fight for sovereignty, but to build it and to give other African leaders a blueprint of what this could look like? So what are we actually talking about here, right? We're not talking about just another university that's handing out degrees. No, we're talking about a mission-driven, industrial-grade institution designed specifically to give Africa control over the entire mining value chain. This would be a place where young Africans learn not just how to dig for minerals, but how to refine them, process them, manufacture with them, trade them, regulate them, and innovate from them. Think about the departments, mining and geological sciences, to understand the earth beneath us. That's important. Young people need to know what we actually own, what we have, what we're blessed with, right? Mineral processing and metallurgy to extract and refine raw materials. Mining equipment engineering to build our own tools and machinery. Environmental and safety sciences to protect our land and people. Industrial design and manufacturing to create value-added products, batteries, wiring, jewelry, electronics. Resource trade, policy, and governance. So we write the contracts, not just sign them. Mineral investment and finance. Yes, this is huge. To train a new generation of African investors, fund managers, and resource economists who know how to raise global capital, manage risk, and build African-owned mining companies. Because let's be real, we don't just lack engineers. We lack African investment infrastructure to fund large-scale industrial projects without begging the IMF or China. This university will train the builders and the bankers, the technicians and the strategists. And it wouldn't just be theory, right? It would be grounded in the real world with internships in mines, labs, and logistics firms, partnerships with national and private mining companies, innovation labs solving problems from battery design to ESG compliance, and entrepreneurship, accelerators to turn student ideas into real ventures, a place where the youth, young Africans, can come together to not only reimagine the future of the continent, but to learn the tools to build it themselves. Now we could start with Flagship Campus in Burkina Faso, Ghana, or South Africa, with regional hubs across Africa's mining belts. But its impact? Continental, generational, revolutionary. And here's what makes it powerful. It will train the talent Africa doesn't have enough of. The kind of engineers and policy minds we currently have to fly in from abroad. It would connect directly to Africa's industrial strategy, working hand in hand with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and national development plans. And most of all, it would help us shift the center of gravity of the global minerals economy back to Africa, where the resources actually are. Because until we build the institutions that can process what we dig, we'll always be exporting power and importing dependency, selling Africa's future for someone else's profit. Now let's zoom out. This isn't just about one country or one school. It's about Africa's future on the global stage. Yes, because here's what happens when we don't control our own resource economy. We remain price takers, not price setters. We send away raw wealth and buy it back, branded, patented, and marked up. We rely on foreign engineers, foreign financiers, and foreign contractors. And most tragically, we keep our youth out of the very industries that could change their lives. And that right there might be Africa's greatest risk and its greatest opportunity. Because Africa has the youngest population in the world. Over 70% of sub-Saharan Africans are under the age of 30. That's over 800 million young people today, and over 1 billion by 2050. This should be our superpower, the workforce that builds the next African century. But instead, it's becoming a ticking time bomb. Unemployment is rampant. In some countries, youth unemployment has passed 50%. And even where jobs exist, they are often informal, underpaid, or disconnected from high-value industries. So while the world races to build tech, batteries, green infrastructure, robots, we're mining the inputs, but locking our youth out of the value chain. We're sitting on trillions in minerals, while millions of our young people are unemployed. Make that make sense. Just make it make sense for me, because it doesn't. That's not just wasted potential. That's a national security threat. Because idle youth don't stay idle. No, they march, they migrate, they resist, they revolt. They look for new solutions. And that's exactly why we're seeing the rise of coups across the continent. Because the youth, they are tired. They want to work, but can't find jobs. That's why a Pan-African mining university is not just a good idea. It's a strategic necessity. It would train a generation to lead Africa's most powerful industries, create skilled, high-paying jobs in engineering, in manufacturing, and finance. It would fuel local entrepreneurship and innovation, and give young people a reason to build their futures here on the continent, not abroad. Because when opportunity meets purpose, yes, the brain drain can become a brain gain. Just imagine what would happen if we built this kind of institution, world-class, global Black, future-facing, the best and brightest African and Black scientists, engineers, bankers, and innovators from around the world, many of whom left because there were no systems to support their ambition, their talent, would finally have a reason to come back. They wouldn't just return for nostalgia, no. They'd return to teach, to mentor, to build, and lead. I believe they will show up. And together we could build something that shifts the center of gravity of global mining and manufacturing right here in Africa. Because when Africa invests in its people, the world pays attention. And when Africa builds its own institutions on its own terms, the future starts to look very different. This vision also aligns with the African Continental Free Trade's vision of intra-African trade and production. Because industrialization is not just about machines, no. It's about people. It actually starts with people. There is no economic transformation without youth inclusion. And there is no youth empowerment without skills, structure, and opportunity. So this university would be the bridge between Africa's natural wealth and the prosperity its people and its youth have long been denied and that they are hungry for. All right, now, let's talk money, right? Because every time we share big ideas for Africa, someone always asks, but how are we going to pay for this? Fair question. But here's a better one for you. How is it that the world mines billions of dollars from African soil every year, yet we still believe we're too poor to build the institutions we need? We're not broke. We're just not building with intention, with strategy. So how do we fund a Pan-African mining university? Here's how we start. 1, make mining companies pay their share, starting now. Let's begin with the companies already profiting from our land. Nordgold, and other mining companies. All the mining companies currently operating in Africa, especially those with long-term contracts, should be required to contribute a portion of their profits toward building this university. Yes, these companies are making billions from Africa's resources every single year. So let's flip the script. Every mining contract going forward should include a clause that mandates an annual investment into Africa's technical and industrial education, starting with this Pan-African Mining University. And if just a coalition of 5 to 10 African governments implemented this policy in a coordinated way, it has to be done in a coordinated way. If done, we could raise $1 billion easily. No loans, no dependency, just a fair return on what's being taken. If you profit from Africa's minerals, you should help train the people who make that possible. You should help build a different kind of future for them. 2, let's start with one country, one campus. We don't need all 54 countries on board to begin with, no. Only one country, say Burkina Faso, could provide the land and initial support to host the Flagship Campus with plans to expand through regional hubs. And 3, strategic public-private partnerships. That's important. We partner with African-owned regional banks, infrastructure developers, and logistics companies. They benefit from industrial growth, so they should invest in the workforce behind it. Set up incentives and ownership stakes that give local partners a reason to support and sustain the model. 4, let's leverage African sovereignty wealth and development funds. Africa has over $100 billion in sovereign wealth funds. Why not dedicate just 1% of that to industrial education? Let the African Continental Free Trade Area, Afrexim and the AU, if it has money, go fund it as part of the continent's economic transformation agenda. And 5, let's create a diaspora investment fund. We don't leverage the diaspora enough. Every year, the African diaspora sends home over $50 billion in remittance, supporting families, covering school fees, paying for healthcare, and bridging the gap where governments fall short. But let's be honest, we're not just sending money, we're sending hope into a system that often has no real plan to change the root of the problem. So here's the question. Would you invest if it meant solving the problem at the source? Imagine this. If just 100,000 of us from the diaspora and across the continent contributed just $10 a month. $10 a month, that's a cup of Starbucks coffee. If you want a latte or, maybe a grande versus tall. We could raise $12 million a year. $10 contribution a month from 100,000 people. That's grassroots capital to fund scholarships for future engineers, state-of-the-art labs, training programs, entire departments led by African and Black talent globally, with a transparent structure, a clear mission, and collective ownership. We can do this. It's possible. We don't need charity. We need conviction. We need alignment. We need us. Because the future isn't going to build itself, no. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And number 6, we need to monetize the output too. This isn't just about giving. The university can generate its own revenue model and become self-sustainable. Technical consulting for governments and companies, industrial research and development contracts, executive training programs, product and tech innovation from its labs. And of course, it doesn't even need to be tuition free, right? There can be a small tuition attached. This can be self-sustaining, not donor dependent. Bottom line, my people, this is possible. We're not asking for miracles here. We're just asking for a shift in priorities and courage. If we can export gold, cobalt, and lithium every year by the billions, we can fund the institution that finally puts that wealth to work for Africa. So why President Traoré again? And why now? Because few leaders on the continent today carry as much symbolic weight and real momentum as Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He's young, he's bold, he's captured the imagination of millions, not just in Burkina Faso, but across the Black world. He stood up to neo-colonial influence. He's nationalized key industries to reclaim economic sovereignty. He's transformed healthcare, launching the construction of 55 municipal medical centers and 5 intensive care units, and initiating the establishment of a Heart Institute, which aims to position Burkina Faso as a regional hub for cardiovascular care. He's transforming the justice system, turning prisons into farms, providing inmates with opportunities for rehabilitation, and contributing to food security. He gets it. He's not waiting on the West. He's refusing to play by the old rules. And instead, he's building something new, something rooted in self-reliance, in real time. But here's the truth. Reclaiming resources is only the first step. The real revolution, it happens when we build the institutions to manage them ourselves. President Traoré has the opportunity to go beyond resistance and step fully into reinvention, to move from saying no to what's broken to building yes into what's possible. Imagine if Burkina Faso became the birthplace of the first Pan-African mining university. A country that once symbolized poverty and instability could now symbolize innovation, education, and African industrial strength. It would be a gift to the continent and a legacy that echoes for generations. But this isn't just about President Traoré. No, it's about all of us. Leaders in Ghana, Namibia, Rwanda, South Africa, Kenya, any of them could take this on for sure. And I hope one of them sees this message and calls for a summit of the heads of state to at least begin discussing the possibility of something like this. And the diaspora, the private sector, civil society, we have a role to play too. Because this is bigger than one person. It's a vision that's rooted in a simple truth. Africa's future will not be imported. It must be built by us. And here's the truth. We don't always have to wait on governments. No, this could very well be a private sector-led initiative as well. It could be built by one of you watching. Hey, Patrick Awa built Ashesi University in Ghana. Fred Swanika built the African Leadership Academy. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They saw a need and they built it. So if this idea speaks to you, if you have the vision, the means, the network, or even just the burning conviction to get it started, go for it. Nelson, maybe you can build it. Because I promise you this, you won't be alone. You have a whole community behind you, ready to build, invest, and support every step of the way. So I'll leave you with this question. If President Traoré doesn't build it, will you? Nelson Parker, who inspired this conversation, will you build it? So my people, where do we go from here? Centuries ago, we built Timbuktu, a thriving African city that became the intellectual capital of the world. A place of libraries, labs, scholars, engineers, architects, and astronomers. A center of global knowledge before the West even imagined such a thing could exist on African soil. If we built Timbuktu, we can build its modern-day counterpart, a university that doesn't just hand out degrees, but builds power, trains leaders, and helps Africa finally master the wealth beneath its feet. This isn't just about minerals. It's about mindsets. It's not just about what's possible. It's about what's necessary right now in this moment. So whether you're in Burkina Faso, Brazil, Baltimore, London, or Botswana. I hope you share this vision. Talk about it. Share it in your group chats. Build on it. And if you believe in it, join us. Because Africa doesn't need permission. It needs momentum. And that momentum starts with us. That's it for today's show. Nelson, thank you so much for inspiring this great conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it. And to you all, thanks for watching, and keep the suggestions and ideas flowing in the comments. I'm paying attention. Thanks for watching. I'm Sandra Babu-Boateng. Until next time, take care. Hey you! Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and join the family. Also, visit face-to-faceafrica.com for your daily news and updates on what's going on within the global Black community so you can stay informed.